Hello viewers! It's been a while since the last video on my IBM Mainframe, and this project is way bigger than I thought. The machine is in my lab now, and it's still in parts. Let's see what we have. Here's a big pile of components that we had to take out to reduce the weight because we had to carry everything up to the first floor into my lab. The chassis alone still weighs more than 50 kilograms, and we had a lot of fun lifting it up the stairs. In the foreground, you can see the battery and the two power supplies, the fans and the card cage. On top are the 4 SSA disks and the blanks that go into the front drive array. In the background, there are the front and back door and the side panels, each of which is really heavy metal on its own. Unfortunately, some parts show corrosion. Some have only a bit surface rust, but others are more concerning. In this episode, I'm going to inspect the removable disk drives and the hard disk drive that has the most corrosion to see what we are dealing with. Hopefully, it's only the metal containers that have rust and not the drives or the electronics. Also, I want to make sure that nothing has flaked off and found its way inside, causing shorts and mechanical issues. I already cleaned the parts from the outside because everything is covered with a thin film of black dust. I wonder where this machine has been used, maybe on a shop floor. This air filter is really dirty and very crunchy. It just crumbles away when I touch it. This has to come out, and I need to find a replacement. Inside there is a little bit of corrosion as well, which I have to address at some point. I'm thinking of spraying down a layer of rust converter to stop the corrosion and to seal the surface. I've lined up the drives for today's video on the bench. We have a tape drive that has some mild surface corrosion and a CD ROM drive which doesn't look too bad. The diskette drive looks like something splashed on it. I just wonder how that could have happened. Maybe the unit was stored outside for some time. The SSA hard disk has the most serious corrosion. I'm curious how it looks inside. Let's crack these things open to see what's going on. The diskette drive is a 1.44 megabyte Sony-branded MPF 920 standard floppy drive. It is surprisingly clean inside, and I can't see any leaky capacitors. I will add some lubrications to the mechanism and replace the old grease on the worm gear. It should be good to go then. Here's a logic board that adapts the SCSI CD ROM to plug into the SSA backplane. Fortunately, the corrosion hasn't found its way to the PCB or the drive. So let's extract the components from the metal container to inspect them further. This is a Plextor PX20 TSI SCSI CD ROM drive. It is 20 times speed and probably has an IBM custom firmware installed. It's the only CD ROM drive I've ever seen to have a 68-pin Ultra SCSI connector. Same as the Diskette Drive, this unit is surprisingly clean inside for a 27-year-old component. It looks almost like new and probably hasn't seen much use. The mechanism is still smooth, only the grease on the metal rails has dried out, so I clean that up and add some lubrication. The electronics board is very clean and I can't see any leaking capacitors or other issues, so I'll put this thing together again for later testing. Next up is this SSA hard drive that has some serious corrosion at the back end and at the sides, or more precisely, at the top and the bottom, because it sits upright in the drive cage. What could have caused this strange corrosion pattern? Again, there is a converter board inside that adapts the disk to the backplane. This obviously is a real SSA disk. I haven't seen this connector before. Luckily, the electronics board and the disk seem to be unaffected by the corrosion of the metal container. The rust has gotten even inside the metal case and is mainly in the area where the vents are and under the adapter board. This one definitely needs a treatment with the wire brush and a spray down with rust converter. Let's now crack open the tape drive assembly to see how it looks inside. I bet it is a standard HP drive with an adapter board similar to the CD ROM drive. Yep, it's a standard 50-pin SCSI DAT tape drive with the respective adapter board. However, it's actually made by Seagate, model 224000, not HP. This drive is a DDS3 tape with up to 24 GB capacity compressed. Let's now test the drives with the bench PC. The only one we can't test is the SSA hard disk because I don't have a controller for that. We'll check it later in the drive cage. I hooked up the CD ROM drive to the Adaptec 2940U2W controller with a 68-pin Ultra SCSI cable, and the DAT drive is connected via a regular 50-pin cable to the single-ended connector of the controller. I also hooked up the floppy drive to the diskette controller on the main board. Let's hit the power switch to see what happens. Looks promising, the lights on the drives come on. Only the diskette drive is behaving strangely. Its light is constantly on. The SCSI devices are detected by the Adaptec controller. This is a good sign. Okay, the diskette drive indeed was unhappy. I plugged the cable in as per the notch's orientation on both the mainboard and the drive. It doesn't fit the other way round. Still, the drive behaves as if it's connected the wrong way round. On this PC, we have Windows NT installed. It sees both the CD ROM drive and the tape drive connected to the Adaptec host adapter. Interestingly, the Seagate DAT drive shows up as an archive Python. Let's poke around some more. So we have confirmed that the CD ROM drive and the DAT drive do work. The diskette drive remains to be tested later, and the SSA hard disk we can only test in the drive cage and with its SSA controller. I will inspect the remaining drives off camera, and I'm going to treat the corroded parts with rust converter. In the next video, we have some more parts to inspect, namely the power supply units, which do have some outside corrosion and might contain reefer line filter capacitors that may explode when powered on. If you enjoyed this content, please feel free to like and subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one.